Okay, so starting with number 1, it says find the range of this relation. Range is your y values. So here's a bunch of points. It also says to determine whether the relation is a function. Remember, for a function, for every x, there's only one y. So the y values here would be 3, 3, and 5. You don't need to write 3 twice, so it's just going to be 3 and 5. That's your range. And then whether it's a function or not, what you're looking for here is we do have x that repeats itself. We have -1 for x and -1 here as well. If you were to plug this into equation, you should get the same output every single time. But here we have an output of 3 and then an output of 5. This can't happen. For every x, there can only be one y, and we have 2 different values. So this is not a function. So if you were looking at these numbers and all the x's were different, it would have to be a function. Number 2, find f of -1. All you do is you plug in -1 for x. So that's what I'm going to do here. -1 squared minus 4 over x plus 2. -1 squared, -1 times its -1 is just 1 minus 4. Oh, I put x here, but this should be -1 as well. -1 plus 2 is 1. Then we get -3 over 1, which is -3. So x equals -3, or f of -1 equals -3. For the next one, some of you might have overthought it, but it's actually as easy as it sounds. Find f of a. All you have to do is plug in a for t. So f of a equals a squared plus 2a minus 2, and you're done. You overthought that.
I mean, that's the answer that I ended up putting down, but I was sitting there for like 30 seconds trying to figure out, wait a minute, how do I put these together?
Correct. Minus 2a. Hello, Robert. How was it? Welcome to American Educational Testing. Florida does a lot of testing. I heard that for the algebra EOC, it was a lot of what we've been doing in here, which is perfect. Let's see, looking for yours. Okay, for the next one, it says write that equation in standard form. Standard form, just as a reminder, and no, there won't be like an equation sheet for this test, so these basic equations you should know off the top of your head. ax plus by equals c. Remember, with standard form, there is no fractions, and a can't be negative. So to put this into standard form, I need to get the x on the other side. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides, and we get 5x plus 3y equals -1. And I don't have any fractions, and a is not negative, so I'm done. What if it was a fraction? Let's say this, instead of 3y, it was 1/3 y. If it was a fraction like this, if there was a fraction in there, to get rid of the fraction, you would just multiply this whole thing by 3, the denominator here, and you would get 15x plus y equals -1. And then this would be your standard form. So if there was a fraction, you just multiply the whole thing by the denominator of the fraction, and you'll get...
What about -1?
Just a can't be negative. And if a was negative, so let's say you had...
No, like at the end, you wrote -1.
It's fine, as long as a isn't negative. What do you mean? Oh. Just so. Yes, -3. I thought you were saying, never mind. You get it. Okay, number 5. Find the x and y intercept of this graph. Okay, so for x-intercept, x-intercept, y will equal 0. So just to make a note for yourself there. And then for y-intercept, x will equal 0. So I'm literally writing instructions for myself, but just in writing that, I can remember exactly what I need to do. So then I'm going to take this equation and plug in 0 for y. And we get x equals 4. So the coordinates there would be 4, 0. And then for y-intercept, x equals 0, so I'm plugging in 0 for x. Then y equals -6. So our coordinates would be 0, -6 for the y-intercept. So this is where this line crosses the x and the y-axis. As far as this test will be multiple choice, the multiple choice answers for this may look different depending on what test you're taking. For this test or for this book, what they're looking for in the multiple choice, it'll be 4, semicolon, -6 is what the answer choices will look like. Did I mess up again?
Isn't it?
I was looking at the wrong problem.
Isn't it?
I saw 2x.
What do you see, Shia?
Because I got that x is. Oh, so you did 12 divided by. Wouldn't it be
-2.
But if you put for the x-intercept, you put y is 0. So wouldn't it be 3x equals 12?
Correct. 3x equals 12 and then x equals 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one's y.
Yeah. So in writing it like this, x-intercept and then y equals 0, it's just, if you get in the habit of writing that, you won't get messed up. Number 6, find the slope of the line that passes through 2, 6, and -7, 8. Slope equation m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That should be memorized as well. If you used it enough, you probably have it memorized already. Then we subtract the y, so it'll be 8 minus 6 over -7 minus 2. You get 2 over -9, which would be -2/9 for the slope. And you're done.
Would it have been wrong? Because I have 2 over -9. Is that wrong?
Well, the answer choice will say -2/9.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was one thing that back when I was in algebra, she would actually put the negative next to either the denominator or
Oh,
the
that's
numerator,
interesting.
and I never knew where it was
I've never seen a
supposed to go.
teacher do that. Usually if one of the numbers is negative, the whole thing is negative.
She wasn't a very good teacher.
Number 7.
That was back in middle school.
Anyways, number 7, what is the slope of a line that is parallel to the graph? Parallel lines would be same slope. So if we find the slope of this line, then a line parallel to that would have that same slope. In order to see the slope easily, we need to have this in y equals mx plus b format. So I'm going to rearrange it. 3y equals -2x plus 5. Then to get the y by itself, divide by 3. And y equals -2/3 x plus 5/3. And what is the slope? It is -2/3. So a line parallel to this one would have a slope of -2/3. Number 8, write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that has a slope of -4 and passes through 1, 2. The way you would do this one is using point slope formula. So 1 minus y minus y1 equals m, the slope, x minus x1. Should have this one memorized as well.
That was the one that I forgot.
Yeah.
I could not figure out how to do 8 and 9.
Then from here, our slope is -4. Our points are 1, 2, so I'm just plugging this into the equation. Y minus 2 equals -4, x minus 1. And then last step, add 2 to both sides. Y equals -4x plus 6. And we're done.
And it's the same for number 9.
It's a little bit different actually from number 9.
Oh. Oh, because of the parallel?
So write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 0, 5, and it's parallel to this line. We do need to find the slope because we're trying to find the equation of a line that's parallel. Another thing to note is that these points right here are the y-intercept, so we don't have to do this whole process because that's going to be b. Right, Gage?
No, he was just helping.
I mean, you would still get the same answer though, right? If you like did the whole process.
You would. Yes. Okay. So for parallel, we need to find the slope of this right here. I'm going to subtract 4x, get it on the other side. Y equals negative 4x plus 3. Then, oh, this is negative, so I need to get rid of that negative. Divide by negative 1. Y equals 4x minus 3. Okay, so a line parallel to this with a y-intercept of 5 would be y equals 4x plus 5. Done.
So does it have to be specifically 5, or can it just be any number?
What? Yeah, it has to be specifically 5.
Because parallel,
It passes through 0, 5. So why?
Yeah.
oh, it has to, gotcha.
Yep.
It doesn't have to.
That's what the 5 comes from, gotcha.
C. Numero 10. Identify the type of function represented by the equation. This one's easy. Absolute value.
That's my friend's question.
Number 11, you may have seen something similar to this on your homework. It will be multiple choice, so you don't have to come up with these words on your own. The graph of a linear inequality is the region blank above the graph of that line. So y is greater than, so that means you would shade on or above that line.
We had Khan Academy, we didn't have homework last time.
Next. Oh my gosh. Y'all gonna drive me crazy. What's that song? Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Describe the translation in each function and then graph the function. So here we have equations right here. The translation for this one would be up 3. A slope of 1.
So unless it's in the parentheses, no,
No, wouldn't it be
it won't be.
left? Or is that?
This is just an equation of a line. It's gonna look like this.
But when would it be like right 3 or left 3?
It's not in the parentheses or anything. You good?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so there we described the translation. Now we're going to use these graphs over here to graph it. I'm going to zoom out. This will be number 12. So as far as graphing this line, y-intercept is 3, and then our slope is 1, so it just goes up 1 like this. It's equal, so just a line. And we're done. Okay, we don't shade on this one because it's not an inequality. For the next one, we have a quadratic because x is squared. Quadratic. So our graph will look like this. The minus 3 is down 3. So I can plot my original point 1, 2, 3 right here. Then I need to set up a function table so I can find some coordinates to graph the actual thing. Okay, so from 0, I'm going to choose 1 and 2. So that way I can see the line upwards. These values I will plug into the equation. 1 squared minus 3. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And then 2 squared minus 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. And then I'll plot these points on this graph. So 1, negative 2, and then 2, 1.
Wait. You still did it right. You just used a bigger number.
Did it fit on the graph?
I got 2 negative 1.
Oh.
Yeah, it still has the same shape.
Yeah, he showed me his paper. He got it like the right
2,
graph,
I
just
don't know.
different numbers.
How would you get 2, negative 1 though?
No, it's just, I don't know. It's not.
Okay, so whatever these points are, you just reflect them over onto the other side of the graph. And there we go. No shading for that one because it's not an inequality.
For 20.
Okay, number 14. You ready? 14, graph each inequality. Y is less than or equal to -3. Just a review. If your inequality doesn't have the line under it, then we're going to use a dotted line. If it does have the line under it, dude, guys, can you please stop talking? Thanks. Appreciate it. And I'm recording how many times I told you to stop. Okay. Anyways, dotted line versus solid line. Sorry, yeah. I was distracted. Okay, dotted line versus solid line. And then remember, if like y is greater than, you shade above. So shade above. If y is less than, you shade below. Okay, then for y is less than or equal to -3, I would go to the graph and plot y equals -3. Then it's clear that it's going to be a horizontal line. Or like this. 14. What do you mean, how? Why?
It could be a vertical line. Why would
Well, if it was a vertical line, it'd just be on the... Well, yeah,
Why wouldn't it be like a sideways?
like a slanted line, because there's no slope. Yeah.
It would be horizontal if it was like an X straight or an X right.
It'd be vertical for x, yeah.
That's what I meant.
Okay, so y is less than -3, so we shade below. Okay, number 15 up here. In order to graph this, I need to rearrange it a little bit so I can see all the parts. I'm going to subtract -x. Y is less than or equal to -x minus 4. And then once I have it in this format, it's going to be down 4. I'm going to have a negative slope. It's going to be going down. It's going to be a solid line. And I think that's all I need to know. Okay. And I'll shade below. So for 15, going to graph that, y-intercept is at -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The slope is -1, so down 1 over 1. Solid line. And y is less than, so... Oh wait, yeah, that's right. Y is less than or equal to. So we shade below. Wish I could see further. There we go.
I reversed 14 and 20.
Oh.
Okay, 14.
16. This one's already in a format I can graph right away. I'm going to use a dotted line now because I don't have the line underneath that inequality symbol. Y is less than, so I'll shade below. It's a negative slope, so it'll actually be going down this way. But y-intercept is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The slope down 3. 1, 2, 3. That.
Yep.
And then dotted line. And then shade below. Okay, 17. 17 is an absolute value inequality. So I'm going to go up here, zoom in. Let's look at this more closely. Y is greater than, so we'll shade above. It doesn't have a line underneath, so it's going to be a dotted line. It's an emergency.
I'm done.
You got one wrong. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Just wait. Okay. Yeah, but then somebody's got to get the door and all that. Okay. So you shade above, dotted line, negative, so it's a reflection. It's an absolute value. So the reflection is going to look like this. It's going to go down. And then our stretch is 3. Plus 1 is left 1. And negative 2 is down 2. Then from here we graph 17. So left 1 down 2. And stretch down 3 over 1. And on the other side, oh, I didn't realize you did. 3 over 1. And dotted line.
Oh, I did slope too.
And shade above. 18. We need to get it into y equals mx plus b format, so subtract x, negative 3y less than or equal to negative x plus 6. Then I need to divide by negative 3 to get y by itself. When you divide by a negative, we need to change the sign in the other direction. So y is greater than or equal to 1/3 x minus 2. And then I'll graph this. So y-intercept is negative 2, 1/3 up 1 over 3. Solid line. And y is greater than. 19.
Wait, which one was the one where like you reflect?
17.
17.
Reflection. Yeah,
That's
but
like
it's going
what
down.
shows it that like you got reflect.
The negative. Negative 3. Yeah, because it's negative.
For the absolute value.
You can do it. Okay. 19, I rewrote this into y equals mx plus b. Y-intercept is 1. It's a negative slope, so we go down, down, baby. Down, 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 down. Okay. And y is greater than. Solid line. Are you sighing because you know this is so well and it's getting boring? That's a good sign, right? Y is greater than. Next, last one. X is greater than 2. This is where some people had questions. For these, it's hard for even me to remember sometimes whether it's vertical or horizontal line. So what I do is I just plot x equals 2. And then you know it's not going to be right on the x-axis. It has to go this way. So that's how I remember. So it is a vertical line. Oh, it should be dotted. Yes, it should be dotted, and I'm writing in pen. Bad teacher. Dotted. And then shade. X is greater than 2, so you'd shade over here. Yes, you can go to the restroom.